Photography burnout is something that happens often but is rarely talked about. This is because burnout is more commonly seen as a productivity or work-related thing, but it can actually apply to hobbies and art as well. And if the word burnout is too intense, you can think of it as a loss of interest as well. A depletion or lack of energy, motivation, and enthusiasm for photography, the thing you once loved. Today, I'm going to share with you why I think so many photographers burn out and a few tips I've learned over the years so you won't. Let's begin. The loss of enthusiasm. When we first get into photography, we're unstoppable. As newbies, we're excited by any and everything. We watch all the camera gear reviews, we read all the blogs and forums, we look at anything photography related. Photography is fun and interesting, and our motivation is often carried by this beginner's enthusiasm. It doesn't take that much to excite us, and little pictures that might not even be that good make us happy. More experienced photographers might scoff or laugh. Look at this guy getting excited or impressed by every single little thing. But deep down, many of us miss that kind of energy. The feeling of photography being fun, exciting, and interesting, and not worrying or caring about how good our photos are or aren't. If you're in this phase, enjoy it, because after a certain point, that enthusiasm goes away. When you've gone on hundreds of photo sessions, a colorful sunset just feels like another day. When you've used and owned dozens of cameras, the next camera just feels like another box. When you've taken plenty of good photos, the bar raises, and it takes more than just a decent photo to excite you. Furthermore, once you've gotten used to all the online videos, articles, and blogs, you'll see the patterns and everything feels like the same thing over and over again. What you were once so enthusiastic about, you care less about now. You may have also reached a level in photography where you understand the skill gap between where you are now and where you want to go. To bridge that gap takes a lot of work, and you don't know if it's worth it. You don't know if you care that much about photography to get that good. But at the same time, you're not quite satisfied with your current progress. So stuck in the middle, your solution becomes to slowly take less and less photos and move on to something else more new and exciting. You'll see this in other areas as well. After a great few months at the gym, it's not as new, fun, or exciting anymore. After the first few months playing pickleball, you're kind of whatever about it now. We play a new game, and it's fun, but after a while, we get tired of it. The human brain has a constant desire for new and different, or else it'll get bored. And unless we figure out how to stay committed, we'll continue to bounce between hobby and hobby, never really getting good at that one thing, but being an inch or two deep in 20 different things. All in all, this loss of enthusiasm is a dangerous trap for many artists, creatives, and photographers alike. And even if you don't consider it burnout, it's a leading signal, because forcing ourselves to keep going through rigid discipline or willpower will only result in a full burnout later. So these are, in my opinion, indicators that we need to change our approach, mindset, or processes about the craft, so we don't jump ship and move on to another hobby or force ourselves to keep going and ruin photography for ourselves. So what are we supposed to do? First, ask yourself whether you've actually burned out or if you just run into a photography wall. Because a lot of times, creatives aren't actually burned out. They've just run into a wall they can't overcome. In these cases, learning to overcome obstacles is our next move. Let's talk about that. The wall in front of us. Most photographers aren't actually burned out. They've just ran into a large wall and they don't know how to get past it. Think of it like this. In photography, we have 4 different stages: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. Each stage is separated by different characteristics, experiences, and mindsets. The beginner stage we covered earlier, filled with enthusiasm, excitement, and a lot of learning in a short span of time. In contrast, the intermediate stage has a lot more pessimism and cynicism. It's here you'll see a lot of fallout with photography. People quitting and moving to different hobbies, a loss of enthusiasm with photography, and a bit of scorn or contempt for other photographers. If you've been around for a while, you'll know what I'm talking about. These photographers have long passed the beginner stages, so that enthusiasm has worn out. But they're not quite at the breaking point for the next level, and they've been in the mud for a while, so that leads to a lot of misery. So it's not a fun place to be, and it leads to a lot of people saying things like, photography isn't as fun as it used to be, which is kind of like blaming the craft or the community for something that it's not responsible for. We'll cover these photography stages more deeply in another video, but this is the point I'm getting at. The problem is not photography. The problem is not other photographers or even camera companies. And the problem is, for sure, not other people who simply don't appreciate or understand your work. The problem is you. Right now, you're faced with a big wall in front of you. This wall is what's preventing you from reaching the next level. And instead of climbing it, for the past few years, you've been avoiding or ignoring it, hoping it'll go away. Because deep down, you know how much work and effort it's going to take, and you're going to fail many times along the way. And that process is painful, so no one wants to go through it. So instead of working on this wall, you'll blame other things, switch to other hobbies, etc. Everything but taking responsibility for closing this gap between where you are and where you want to go. But newsflash, the wall is still there and it's not going anywhere. And if you want to get to the other side, happy photography land where things are green and sunny again, you have to cross this barrier. People often say the first wall is the hardest. That's because when it's your first time facing something like this, it seems big, scary, and unknown. But as you get more experience, you start to understand the patterns and you learn to see new walls as just another wall. So that's the bad news, the wake-up call. But the good news is that you found this video, because I'm going to share with you a few things that have helped me overcome my photography walls. 4 tips to overcome a photography wall. Tip number 1, learn to accept it for what it is. A wall is a wall, and there's no changing that. Meaning, if you've hit this bump in the road or something you can't get past, don't deny its existence. Treat it and accept it for what it is. That way you can start taking steps to working through it, around it, or overcoming it. It's often the denial of hardship that makes hardship harder. Acknowledge the barrier or obstacle and keep walking. Tip 2, chip away little by little. Big barriers don't need to be crossed by big leaps. If you have the capacity to jump or climb that high, sure. But if you're feeling some massive burnout or have some big obstacle in your way, don't try to cross it in one go. Many times it's easier to chip away at it little by little. Just get 1% done every single day and eventually you'll get through it. That's how I get through big projects or videos that I don't want to do. I just get a little bit done every single day and let time do its thing. Think about it. If I just do 1% a day, the utmost maximum of time it'll take is 100 days. And eventually I'll be done and off to the next project. And more often than not, just starting gets the gears going, and I finish much faster than I initially anticipated. Tip 3. Focus on the task at hand. The reason why we lose interest, switch gears, and never improved is often because we're easily distracted. We see something difficult in front of us, so we get scared and run away to do some easy thing over there. That doesn't work. It simply creates this perpetual cycle of running away. So if something in front of you scares you, don't turn away. Look at it straight in the face and start working on it. We do this by focusing on photography itself. The photos that need to be taken, the photos that need to be edited, the books that need to be made, etc. Right now, there's some project or task you are avoiding. And if you work on it and not other stuff, you'll make progress in that area. And who knows, it might not be as scary as you initially thought. Tip number 4, don't track your progress. I know the whole point of this is to reach to the next level, get to the next stage, or improve your photography, but you can't think about it like that. Because every time you do, that becomes the focus, and it takes away from the focus of what we talked about earlier, photography. So don't track your progress. Just trust in the process of the work you're doing, and understand that if you take enough photos, edit enough photos, make enough books, over a long enough period of time, you will get better. And one day, you'll look up and find yourself in that better place. Make sense? If you can apply these things and overcome your creative walls, it will not only make photography fun again, but you'll also get better. People looking outside will think you've improved your skill, but I think that's just the byproduct of reinvigorating your passion or interest for the craft. So that's 4 tips to overcoming a photography wall. Now, what if you're not dealing with a wall, but actual photography burnout like what we talked about earlier? Let's get to that. Renewing photography. Some photographers have reached a point in the craft where they've done it all. They've learned all the beginner, the intermediate, and advanced stuff. They've taken down and overcome many barriers in front of them. And they've done a lot of things with photography. So instead of photography becoming this big, challenging thing, it's become this sort of mellow, gray, flat thing. You're at a point where photography has become boring. It's not fun because it's not new. You've done most of the things there are to do around photography, and challenges don't really excite you because you've done them before. You've gone on many of the trips you've always wanted to, taken the photos you've wanted to, and built the books you wanted to. This is more endgame photography, and it's less common for most people, but some of you might be able to relate. In these instances, there are a few things I can recommend that help me renew my photography. Let's break down each of these. First, start by thinking of photography as secondary. I've learned over the years that having photography as the main focus can put a lot of pressure on yourself. I start to desire to get good photos all the time, I'm harder on myself when I don't, and sometimes my self-worth gets wrapped up in that. It might sound weird, but when you lower the importance of photography, your creative brain can actually take a back seat and relax a bit. In life, we have priorities. We have life itself, our health, people and relationships, art, etc. How you stack these different things will affect how you feel about each one of them. And at times, art and photography is high up on the priority ladder, other times, it's not. For the most part, I've learned that keeping art and photography lower on this ladder is actually better. When it's too high up, I start to forget about other things in life. And then my life falls apart, which isn't a good thing. But over the years, I've learned if I just have my shit together, my health, my relationships, etc., my creativity actually gets easier and better. So it's weird, because you'd think that prioritizing photography would make you better. But in many cases, I've learned that if I'm good, everything else will be good. This also allows me to take myself less seriously, which in turn stops me from overthinking, being stiff or inflexible, more calm when I'm taking photos, and less hard on myself, which in turn leads to better photos. Second, find new things to get excited about. If photography is boring or you're feeling burnt out, it might help to find new things to get excited about. This one takes a bit of effort, but it can go a long way. It could mean taking a new trip to a new place, picking a different location for your photo session, changing genres or photographing a different subject, and even buying new gear. I don't often encourage new gear because you don't always need it, but if that's the thing that stimulates or reinvigorates your photography, then so be it. Personally, I like to bounce back and forth between everyday photography, documenting memories with the people around me, going on golden hour sunset walks, and more serious work like street and travel photography. That spices things up, gives a variety to my photography, and keeps things fun. It makes it so I'm never only doing just one type of photography, so it's hard to get bored. And oftentimes, a new scene or environment when traveling is enough to spark my interest to take photos again. So you just need to pinpoint the little things that get you excited. It doesn't have to be big, fancy, or expensive. Maybe even try photographing your cat or your dog. It's often these little, low stakes, less serious things that are the most fun. So even though you may have tried everything there is to do with photography, don't be so quick to close doors. Find new things to get excited about. You may find yourself sucked into a new genre you couldn't have imagined yourself doing 5 years ago. Third, coming full circle. Another thing that's kept me grounded over the years is coming full circle. It's funny how as time passes, we find ourselves in completely different places than we initially intended to go. For example, I never thought I'd be so deep into photographing sunsets, enough to make a zine on it. It's a type of photography I enjoy but didn't think I'd be doing when I first started. And when we're feeling burned out, it can be a good idea to take a break from the things that are burning us out and come full circle. Think back to the photography you first started with and start doing some of it again loosely. For me, my photography back then was just traveling around, going on road trips, and hanging out with friends. Over the years, it became this more complex street or travel photography, trying to express something greater and quote unquote make art. But when things are tiring, boring, or I don't feel compelled to take photos, I find energy in the same places I left them. I'll go out and do fun things. I'll take my camera on simple hangouts and take a few crappy photos. I'll revisit where I began and come full circle. That I found to be massively helpful to reset my photography and stave off burnout. If you feel similarly, try going back to where you started, just for fun. You might get a bit of nostalgia, and that can help renew your photography. So that's what I've learned about photography burnout. I hope it was useful to you. If it was, please share this with a friend who may also be struggling with burnout. If you want to learn more about photography and build a solid foundation, check out Photography Essentials. It's free. Also, if you enjoyed this video, stay tuned. I'm coming out with a more detailed, expansive photography course on how to get stuff done, much like this video. You can also help support me by picking up a copy of The Sinking Sun, my photography zine. We've also got limited edition shirts available for a limited time and new prints available. Thanks as always for watching. Have a great day. Happy shooting. Peace.